What's going on, guys? It's Devin here with Cover 3 Media. We're back. It's week 4 already in the NFL. We're here for our starts and sits. Been doing it every week. We're here again for every game this week. And the crazy, weird fantasy season we've had so far. Make sure you guys leave comments on some start-sits questions you guys have on the season, or some trade packages as well. Even if you're on 3 guys, the season's far from over. So let's dive into a great Thursday night game we got coming up. To kick off week 4, we got a great Thursday night game here, guys. We got the Miami Dolphins traveling to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. Now, there's some injury concerns on both ends that you guys need to be aware of, and make sure you're paying attention to it before Thursday night's game. Let's start with the Cincinnati Bengals. Jamar Chase, you're starting. T. Higgins, you're starting if he can go. He came back with that concussion, but he came back in the game. He's dealing with an ankle injury now. If he's healthy, you are starting him. He is an absolute beast. He's been putting up some great games this season, and I think we could have a breakout game here on Thursday night if he plays. Make sure he is. I'm still playing Mixon. I understand his yards per carry has been just terrible, and it's been really hard to watch, but he's good to go, and he's still a high in RB2 at the minimum for your team where you drafted him. You got to play him, guys. We've seen the running back situation now in the NFL for fantasy just be terrible, but you still got to roll with a guy you probably took in the second round of your redraft drafts. Now, I'm not starting Hayden Hurst for the Bengals at tight end or Tyler Boyd. But if T. Higgins happens to be out and you have Boyd, flex him. But, again, it's a Thursday night game. We don't want to be flexing a guy that's running back or receiver. Put them in the receiver or running back spot because you don't know what could happen with injury that could leave you less options at the flex spot for the rest of the week. So if T. Higgins can't go, put Tyler Boyd in. That's what I'm thinking with the Bengals. Now with Miami, really monitor that Tua injury. He said he's going to try to play, but I don't expect him to. Waddle's also been dealing with a little injury. If Waddle's playing, regardless if Tua's under center or not, you're playing him. Same with Tyreek Hill. They're explosive players. Tua and Tyreek both have had down weeks this past season, but it's 1 week, guys. You can't just give up after 1 week. I'm sitting Gesicki, just not consistent enough for me. I think there's better tight end options. Not starting Mostert. Everyone was thinking he was going to be the starter for them, and it's not looking like that. And Chase Edmonds, I wasn't really honed on starting him last week. This past week he got 2 touchdowns, but didn't get a ton of volume. So it really depends on your situation. Personally, I probably wouldn't play him, but let us know if you have Chase Edmonds. If you're debating about starting him, who you would want to start over him. Let me know with that. But it should be a fun, exciting game, especially if everybody's healthy and plays.
Vikings versus Saints. This one will be interesting. Minnesota came out of the gates roaring, guys, against the Packers. And although their record is looking nice, I don't know how I feel about them playing against the Saints here. Hopefully, JJ can have a rebound week after these last 2 weeks. But, they barely scraped by with a win last week, guys. I think they can take care of business in New Orleans, but, it's gonna be interesting. I think if they have a rebound week, great. If they don't, I'm a little bit scared from a Vikings fan because it's not been looking fantastic. JJ needs to pick it up here. Kirk Cousins especially, I think he's more of the issue there. He needs to pick it up, certainly. So with Minnesota, I'm starting JJ. I'm starting Thielen. Thielen needs to be more involved in this offense. If the Vikings want to win going down the line here, they cannot be relying on JJ 100%. And I think if Thielen isn't involved in this offense, it's going to hinder JJ's ability to put up some good points. I think he needs a little bit of help from Thielen, just so he's not getting these double coverage looks from these defenses. It's looking like the Saints, they don't have the greatest pass defense for fantasy football-wise, so we'll keep an eye on that, guys. But my third start here is situational. It's Alexander Mattison. If Dalvin Cook is hurt, if he's not playing, I'm putting Mattison in if I got him over, certain guys. Of course, I'm not going over those big-name guys, that are given running back 1s or high-end running back 2s. I think Mattison is like a running back 3 if Dalvin Cook is not playing. I think he could be a low-end running back 2. So just kind of monitor that, guys. If Dalvin Cook is playing, if you got both these guys, a handcuff situation, I could see starting Dalvin Cook. I don't think this injury is too serious. If he does play this next week, I think he'll get some good points still. We've seen in years past when he had this shoulder injury, he's come back from it pretty handedly when he's actually playing. So monitor that situation, guys. For the Saints, Alvin Kamara, I'm starting him this week, guys. He's getting the more touches, more involved in the offense now, coming back from his injury. I'm liking him for week 4 against the Vikings. Vikings defense, the running defense isn't fantastic. So Kamara, fantastic high-end running back 2 option here, guys. But next up on the list, Michael Thomas. I'm watching his toe injury. Michael Thomas is weird to me because I think his injuries sometimes, no matter how big or how small, I think sometimes they, can affect his performance. So if this toe injury seems to be, although it seems small, if it seems to be hindering him in practice and he's not 100% for week 4, I might be a little bit worried about starting him. But I think he's still a decent start here, guys. Just monitor that. Olave, I think he's a good start here. He has been showing over the past 3 weeks that he's been good enough to be in some starting lineups as a flex option. So it's just kind of, situational here, guys. Who do you think on your lineup Olave could start over? Against this Vikings defense, especially their secondary, I think Olave could have a great game against Minnesota. And then Jarvis. If MT's out, I might be plugging Jarvis in if I got both of them. Or if I just have Jarvis and if I'm dealing with some injuries on my team, I could see you plugging Jarvis in if MT's out. I don't know if he's a solid start if MT's playing, so monitor that situation, guys. Might have to revisit that situation later in the week. As far as my sits, Minnesota, obviously if Dalvin Cook's out, you're sitting him, guys. Irv Smith, I'm sitting him, guys. I don't like what I see out of him the first 3 weeks. He had one decent game, but I've seen him drop a lot of passes here. It's not what I like to see. I think it goes JJ, Thielen, and then the running backs that get a big portion of this offense against the Saints this week. KJ Osborne, I gotta sit him too, guys. He's the type of guy who can have a good week like he did week 3, but it's not gonna be consistent. I cannot bet a week on that when I gotta win. So sit those guys. And then New Orleans, anyone else you're considering on that offense, I'm sitting, no questions asked. That's final.
All right. We have Detroit versus Seattle. Start sit. Very simple. We're starting Amon-Ra St. Brown, clear as day. Starting DK Metcalf, he's starting to get the receptions he deserves, clear as day. Who else are we starting? Jamal Williams. He's already been mongering and vulturing all the red zone snaps, getting the touchdowns, and now DeAndre Swift is out. He is a must start this upcoming week. Who are we sitting? All right, let's talk about it. Rashad Penny might honestly already be losing his snaps to Ken Walker. He was very efficient last week. I don't want to call start Ken Walker yet because he's still seeing only about 40%, but I don't want to start Rashad Penny either. Now, Ken Walker might honestly take over this week. They're not the best defense, so if you want to take a risky start, Ken Walker.
Now we got the New York Jets visiting the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's first start with the Jets. We have some young studs that are rookies that have been proving to be pretty good assets to have in fantasy so far. Garrett Wilson, I am flexing him. I'm liking the target share he's getting. Zach Wilson is supposed to be playing in this game, apparently, according to their coach. Regardless of Flacco or Zach Wilson's there, I think Garrett Wilson will have a very good game. Pittsburgh secondary isn't anything to write home about. So Garrett Wilson, I would definitely flex him. He's been looking really good as a rookie receiver, and I want to keep him in my lineup at the moment. Breece Hall, I would also flex or start him as a low on RB2. Depends on your situation. Again, let us know. He finally outtouched Michael Carter this past week, and I just think we could be seeing the Breece Hall breakout coming soon, guys. He's getting a lot of targets in the receiving game, which we love to see in full PPR, and he's been looking efficient on the ground. I know they just lost another tackle to the IR, which is hard to watch, and for a Breece Hall owner, but Breece Hall I'm really getting excited about, guys. And depending on your situation, let us know if you have a better option or not, because, I have him in a league, but I have Aaron Jones and Nick Chubb, and I'm starting them both over him. So it depends on what we have at hand with that. That's the only guys I'm starting on the Jets. Elijah Moore has not looked great so far this season with Joe Flacco. With Zach Wilson, he could look better, but I still want to see a week with them together before I put him in my lineup. Corey Davis, same thing. That same thing as I was saying about Elijah Moore right there, not Mitchell. Sorry. Tyler Conklin, I know he's tight end 3 on the year. Not starting this guy. Are you kidding me? If you literally have nothing else better, play him. But I feel like there's 10 to 12 better options, even though they're not scoring as well. It's been a weird season, guys, and it's only been 3 weeks. If he's tight end 3 at the end of the season, I don't know what I'll do because I don't see it coming. And then Michael Carter, I'm not starting either. His volume's looking like it's going down a little bit. You definitely still want to keep him in fantasy leagues because Breece Hall goes down. He's getting the full workload on the team, and he has looked decently well and definitely as a very good NFL running back to still have on a roster. Now with the Steelers, I'm still starting Najee Harris. I know he's been a little bit of a struggle to have, not getting a lot of points, getting about a little above 10 every week, but he's still high in RB2 for me. I'm still starting him. The volume's still going to be there. He's just not getting a lot of touchdown opportunities, unfortunately, and their O-line is garbage. So that doesn't help. And we got Mitch Trubisky in the quarterback situation, which I don't like. I think it's time to give it to Pickett pretty soon, especially if they lose to the Jets, which would be hilarious to see. Also, I'm starting Deontay Johnson. He's getting the targets that you still want to be putting in your lineup, and he's doing pretty well with them. He could even be having bigger games if Mitch hasn't missed him so many times from some of the games I've been watching with Trubisky under the helm. And Freiermuth, tight end, you're starting him unless you got a top 4 or 5 option above him. Let us know if you have if you have a Kelsey, Kittle, Andrews, or Waller. Those are only 4 I would be starting really over Muth. Maybe Hawkinson too. I'd probably start over Muth. But he didn't get a lot of action last game, but he finally did towards the end of the game. I still love his talent, and I hope he gets more opportunities because he's a beast. And then I'm sitting other 2 receivers on the Pittsburgh team. I'm sitting Pickens. I'm sitting Claypool. I just think Steelers are wasting talent. We saw Pickens get that crazy-ass catch, probably catch of the year so far. And Claypool's an athletic guy. And I feel like they're wasting their talent. I think they really need to switch quarterback positions because that could just help us fantasy owners get more, production out of these players that, a lot of NFL teams would probably kill to have a guy like Pickens or Claypool. So, watch out. Steelers could be on upset alert. And I could see, if they're struggling, Trubisky, see ya, Pickett, A.K. Morgan Wallen, long hair, in.
Bears-Giants. This one will be interesting, guys. Just 2 very meh teams. So I do think I personally think the Giants will win. I think the Giants will take care of business against Chicago, but it's not looking good for either team this season. Chicago, their passing offense has been absolutely horrendous. The rushing offense has been actually really good, but, it's a similar story for the Giants, and the Giants just lost Sterling Shepard Monday night. So I don't know what the Giants are going to do passing-wise here, guys. I don't know who's going to come up out of the weeds to take care of it on the Giants, and I don't know if there's anyone on the Chicago Bears passing or receiving-wise who's going to have a significant week this week that I can really bet on putting in my lineup. So we're going to start with the starts. The only start for the Bears I got is Khalil Herbert. Okay, guys? I'm monitoring David Montgomery's injury. If David Montgomery is not looking 100%, I'm plugging Herbert in. If I have that handcuff, especially, and other situations, it'll depend. If you don't have a good running back too, I think Herbert has some high upside here against the Giants, especially considering the Bears game script these past 3 weeks. But I am concerned that the Giants might catch on and play the run game a whole lot, and that might make it hard for Herbert if he's the main back in this game. So Herbert, monitor the situation, guys, and just kind of, understand what your situation is and plug them in if you don't have a great running back too. If not, I'm not really starting them over some other big-name guys like Kamara. I would start Kamara over Herbert if you got the situation, guys, over there. And then for the Giants, the only person I am starting on the Giants is Saquon Barkley. I just don't think the offense is anything more than him. We've seen it. These wide receivers have had very below-average weeks on this Giants team, and I'm not banking on one of them to come out of the weeds, like I said, and have a week. I think Saquon's the only considerable option on this offense right now, and he's been proving to be pretty good at the running back slot. He's actually been doing really good for you if you have him in fantasy this year. So there you have it for starts. Sits. I'm sitting David Montgomery no matter what this week, guys. I don't care if he's healthy or not. He's not in my lineup. I'm losing all faith in this guy. It's just not looking good. Cole Kmet, sit him. Darnell Mooney, sit him. I don't think you can reasonably bank on them having a good week this week. If they do, whatever, I'm sure you have other players who will do well too. It'll be something to monitor going down the road, but guys, it's just the ceiling for those two right now is just not looking great with this Chicago Bears passing offense. And then for the Giants, everyone else, all the receivers, tight ends, any backup running back, I'm not starting, guys. We've seen it. They just can't have a solid, at least wide receiver one so far this season. We got to see some stuff happen here. I think the next person to come out of the weeds for them would be Kadarius Toney if they actually use him properly. But that's not happening. I'm actually very upset about that. So monitor the Giants, guys, but right now Saquon is it.
Tennessee versus Indianapolis. Another game that should be pretty obvious start sits. Obviously, Michael Pittman, we're starting him. Jonathan Taylor, no shit, we're starting him. Dude is going to be back. And this week especially, he's a must start. He's going to have a great week. Now we got to transition over to the other side. Tennessee, Derrick Henry, we saw him go off last week. What is going on? He's being used in the pass game for once. It's beautiful. Start Derrick Henry. Heck, even start Treylon Burks. The dude is going to have a great week. I think this might be his breakout week. I do not love the secondary over there in Indianapolis. Start Treylon Burks. Going to the sits. All right. Really, both quarterbacks are not going to have production. Clear as day. You can't trust them. We're not starting any Naheem Hines. We're not starting either tight end, but we already know this. It was pretty simple.
We got go Chargers, go! Traveling to H-Town to take on the Texans. With the Chargers, guys, Austin Eckler has been just terrible so far this season. But you guys still play him, guys. You still got to play him. It's only week 4. If he has another bad week, we'll talk about it next week. But I still think you're starting him as an RB2 at the minimum. You drafted him high. You probably don't have a better option at running back to play over him. I just don't see it. Especially in leagues where almost every league you start 2 running backs. If you're starting one, I don't know what the hell league you're in. So, play Eckler, guys, still. I think this could be a really good game for him against a bad Houston defense up front. I think if he struggles in this game, guys, we're going to need to be really looking at that situation actually worrisome. I'm a little worried right now, but not too worried. But if he struggles against a bad team, then it's a different thing we will be talking about. Now, Keenan, if he's playing, you're starting him. We don't know yet at this moment in time if he's playing with that hamstring. If he's playing, you play him. You're still flexing Mike Williams. I know he's had a few duds. Had a great week 2, struggled week 1, struggled week 3. You still got to play him. He's a boomer bust guy, guys. He's going to have those big weeks, and he's going to have bad weeks. I thought he'd have a bigger week last week against Jacksonville with no Keenan, but he didn't. But I still like him as a flex play, guys. He's one big play away from getting you 20 points, so you got to keep that in your lineup. And then Josh Palmer had a very good, solid week last week with Keenan out. I think if Keenan is out, I would flex him, but depends on your situation, your other flex options that you have. But if Keenan is out, I would be interested in possibly playing Palmer. I like his talent. The youngster has been looking pretty solid in that offense. And then Gerald Everett, I'm sitting him. I'm just not confident in him to produce those numbers, especially if Keenan is back. So look elsewhere at tight end. If you got, like I was talking about Conklin earlier on the Jets, between those two guys, you're starting Everett, personally. Now let's go with Houston. I'm flexing Brandon Cooks still. Struggled last week. He's still getting the targets, but it's just not looking like it's really worth much. But I would still flex him as, receiver 3 or 4 on your team. They could be down big in this game if the Chargers, come back swinging in this game if you're losing to Jacksonville. And they could be throwing a lot, which could help Cooks out. Dameon Pierce, I really liked what I saw last week. RB2 low on RB2/flex depends on your running backs at hand because he doesn't catch a lot of passes and Houston might be down a lot, so it might not be a positive game script. That's what you got to worry about. Let us know with Dameon Pierce what your other options are because I love his talent. I just hate the situation he's in, and against a good Chargers team, it might not benefit him game script wise at all. And again, pay attention to game scripts when you're freaking out about these running backs so far through the first few weeks.
Alrighty, Cleveland Browns, Atlanta Falcons. Kind of a wishy-washy game here. 2 offenses that aren't crazy good and 2 defenses that are, again, it's just average. All right, so I think there are players in this game, though, that will have big games because of their opponents. So I think this is actually a pretty good fantasy matchup, though. Even though for, if you're betting, games or if you're looking for a very interesting game to watch, I don't know how interesting it will be, but let's start with the starts for the Browns. All right, Nick Chubb, lock. I think Amari Cooper, I think he's also a solid start in your team too. I think he's been proving that he's a very big, threat in this offense for Cleveland, and that Brissett is finally starting to get settled in with some of these new faces, and getting settled in as this starting quarterback on the Browns. And then we got Kareem Hunt. I think he's had some solid weeks the first 3 weeks. It hasn't been anything fantastic outside of week 1, but I think he still has that ceiling, guys. I think he's got, a high floor. I think his floor is right around 9 to 10 points, which, hell, I'll take it. So he's definitely like a, low-end running back 2, high-end running back 3 here, guys, where if you have 2 stud running backs and, Hunt is your third guy, I wouldn't start him over your studs, but if you have a running back 2 who might not have the greatest opponent this week, I could see you starting Hunt, guys. Receiving work he's getting. He's being used in the red zone a considerable amount, guys. We saw that last week against the Steelers, so definitely a considerable option there, guys. For Atlanta, we're talking Cordero Patterson. I think we can start him this week against this Browns defense. Last week he did great against the Seattle defense, so, that's good to see. I think we've seen that Cordero Patterson might be one of those guys who gets good numbers against weak defenses and might struggle against those great defenses like the Rams. So Cordero, I think you guys can put him in there. Again, I think he's, a running back 3 level. I don't think he's a guaranteed running back 2 level player just yet for me. So again, if you have some studs and Cordero's your third guy, I don't know if you really want to be starting him, but I think he is a solid option if you need to start him in your running back slot. Or, if you've got a flex spot and it's looking pretty thin, if you have a very large league with very deep starting lineups, he could be there in your flex, okay? Another guy to talk about, Drake London. We're starting him, guys. This rookie has proven through the first 3 weeks that he's been a viable fantasy option. He's put up respectable points. His floor has been pretty high, and his ceiling has been respectable, 24, 25 points PPR. Could he have a bigger game than that? Sure. Could he have a worse game than that? Sure. I don't know if I see it. I think he's getting his targets every game. He's getting his 4 to 5 receptions and, the yards that come with that, which is like 8 to 10 points in fantasy at least. Add some big plays in there, add a touchdown in there, you got yourself a game. Pitts. I think Pitts is still in your starting lineup, guys. We saw last week, Pitts is finally starting to come back, guys. I think he's going to have to be more involved in this offense if the Falcons really want to win games. I know what was said about Pitts, about, him not, getting fantasy points and the people over there in Atlanta not caring, they just want to win. If they want to win, they got to play Pitts, and they got to be giving him the ball. This guy is a stud. He's a wide receiver at tight end. Such an athletic talent, guys. It's just, I don't know what's going on there in Atlanta, but they're going to figure it out here soon that Pitts is one of their best players, if not the best player on their offense. So watch out for that, guys. And then the sits, the Browns. Njoku, I think he's situational, guys. He had a great week last week. He had 9 receptions, guys, which is fantastic for a tight end. He had a great game fantasy points-wise. I could see Brissett giving him the same attention week 4 as how solid of an option he was right over the middle of the field. This guy is a tank. So this is situational, guys. I think, if you plug him in there in your starting lineup, guys, I wouldn't bat an eye. I'd be like, yeah, all right, I can totally see that. So situational, guys, again, I don't think he's starting over the big guys. The Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Darren Wallers. I don't think you can start him over them. But this guy is looking like he might have the season he's been destined to have over the last few years. And then Donovan Peoples-Jones, man, sitting him, guys. I don't think Brissett can handle more than Njoku and Amari. I think Peoples-Jones could have a big play here and there or have a big game here and there. I'm just not betting my fantasy week on it. I think you guys got some better players than him. So, he might be an option down the line if someone gets hurt, but not right now. And all else I'm sitting, guys. No one else considering there. And then Atlanta, anyone else on that team I'm not starting. I think Cordero, London, and Pitts, this is the offense right now. No one else to play around with.
Next up, we got Washington versus Dallas. We are starting Zeke. He finally is being utilized. I love it. It's not the best rush defense over there with Washington. Okay, Chase Young is still out. We can't do that. All right, so we got to be ready. We got to be ready to start Zeke. And Tony Pollard are using them both. And CeeDee Lamb. Cooper Rush is figuring it out. We need to start the power 3 on the Titans, on the Dallas offense. Now, with that said, Dalton Schultz, I might sit him this week. Reason being, I don't trust that he's going to be fully healthy. And they kind of won last week without him. I don't even know if he's going to play. Don't risk it. Start your backup. Go get like a Gerald Everett or something. Start him instead. On Washington's side, I am loving Terry McLaurin this week. Trevon Diggs is going to let him score. It's going to happen. He wants to get the picks. Fine, go for him. That's fine in fantasy. Do your strategy in football. I don't care, Trevon Diggs. Do what you want to do. You're going to let Scary Terry score on you, and I love it. Absolutely love it. Curtis Samuel's going to get his flex appeal. Jahan Dotson, slight flex appeal. Very, very similar to a Tony Pollard kind of esque, where both of them have that borderline flex appeal if you don't have someone absolutely better. You definitely want to consider them. With that said, we're not starting Antonio Gibson. I have absolutely zero faith, especially with DeMarcus Lawrence playing the way he is and Micah Parsons. Yeah, I'm not starting Antonio Gibson. I'm not starting any running back for Washington. There you go.
We got the Duval Jaguars traveling to brotherly love to take on the Philly hot right now Eagles. I think this should be a fun game to watch. Jacksonville brought against the Chargers. I think they're going to surprise people and be close to the undefeated Eagles. Let's start out with the Jaguars. I'm starting J-Rob. Was not big on him going into the season, but he's proven me wrong. I think he's a great RB2 to have right now. Philly's a tough defense up front, but you still got to play him. I think he's going to get the touches to get there, and the Jaguars' offense is a lot better and can produce some fantasy guys. You're starting Christian Kirk as well. He's been absolutely a beast this season, and I expect him to get the volume every week with T-Law looking great right now. I'm liking those two guys. And then ETN, depends on your situation. This could be a good game script with him possibly being down big. But I thought that last week, but it did help him. It just was all the way around. They were up big, the Jaguars, on the Chargers. So ETN, it's looking like J-Rob is the RB1 right now. But ETN, is a possible flex play / low RB2. Again, depends on your situation. Because I don't mind the matchup for him in the pass-catching game. That's it for Jacksonville. I know there's Zay Jones. I'm not playing him. Not playing Marvin Jones. I need to see a little more production and consistency before I put them in my lineup. Now with the Eagles, a lot of guys you're starting. You're starting Devontae Smith, who, after that dud of week 1, if you listen to Adam on Cover 3 Media here, after week 1, he was a buy low candidate, Devontae Smith. He's been an absolute beast ever since. Broke out last game, had a great week 2 too. You're starting him. A.J. Brown, you're starting him. Great week 1. Been solid the last 2 weeks. He got about 11 in week 2 and 17 this past week in PPR. You're playing him. I think he's really going to be a great return on investment for many fantasy teams this year. He's a beast. And you're starting Goddard at tight end if he's your tight end 1. Again, if you got, these are the only 6 guys right now I'd probably play over him. Kelsey, Andrews, Kittle, Freiermuth, TJ Hawkinson, and Waller. Those are the 6 guys I'd probably play around him, play over him. Then 7 is Goddard for me. Then I would play him if you don't have a guy that I listed before Goddard. And then I'm sitting the Eagles running backs. Miles Sanders started solid the first 2 weeks here, but I just think it's too unpredictable. I think they still run that committee, and Jalen Hurts is still running the ball a lot. So I would veer from starting Miles Sanders or Gainwell or Boston Scott if you're considering those 2 guys. But Miles Sanders definitely sit. I think this will be a fun game to watch, though, in Philly.
Bills versus Ravens, guys. Buffalo just did not look good last week. A lot of things weren't going their way. A lot of mistakes. Things that just did not look great. Josh Allen fumbled the ball a couple times. Just not good. I think they're having a rebound week against the Ravens and this Ravens defense. I don't think the Ravens defense is, up to the caliber to slow down the Bills. We'll see. But I'm taking the Bills in this one, guys. I think the Bills are going to have a great game. I think Baltimore going against this Bills defense is going to be rough. Lamar Jackson is going to have to get some stuff done on the ground, and we'll see if they can keep up. It's going to be a rough one. But if Buffalo can't pull it together week 4, Baltimore might be taking care of business. With that being said, I'm going to talk about the starts for the Bills. I'm talking Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. Those are the only guys that can start on this team right now. I know Gabe Davis didn't have a great week last week. Maybe his ankle injury was lingering a bit. He got some targets and, the ball was knocked out. He could have had a touchdown and he didn't control the ball all the way through. I think against this Baltimore Ravens secondary, I think Diggs and Davis are going to be taking care of business over there in Baltimore. So I'm starting those 2 guys only on the Buffalo Bills guys. And for the Ravens, I'm starting Bateman and Andrews. I can really only take the receiving work for the Ravens here, guys. I know I said that Lamar's probably going to have to take care of business on the ground, but they are going to have to move the ball down the field in the air as much as they can. So those two are my only two considerable guys I can start. Obviously, Andrews is a no questions asked. Bateman, he's a little bit more risky. I think he still has that very high ceiling, guys. If you happen to have a stacked team and Bateman just isn't, the highest guy on your team, I could see you sitting him. But I think Bateman is a great, first flex, second flex option. So wide receiver, 3-4 option here for week 4. So monitor that, guys. Know your team, know your situation. Sits. Buffalo Bills. I'm sitting McKenzie, I'm sitting Crowder, I'm sitting Knox, guys. I'm a little bit concerned that after last week and what I've seen the first 3 weeks is that, Josh Allen's going to Diggs and Davis, and outside of that, there might be some big performances out of these 3 guys, but I don't know who's going to be, and these 3 are going to be competing for those big games. I just don't like that situation. For week 4, guys, I think you have some better guys you could start over them. Dawson Knox, if he's your tight end 1, you might have to stick with it and ride with it, but if you got some other guys like Higbee, Ertz, obviously, Dallas Goedert, guys like that or Frymuth, if you could plug those guys in, I might take my chances with someone else just because you're banking on a big week out of Knox, and I just can't predict that this week. And then for Baltimore, I'm sitting Dobbins, guys. I think he's still working back from the injury. I didn't really like too much what I saw last week. But maybe down the line, he might start catching some wind. He might start producing more for you guys in your fantasy lineups, but I'd honestly consider trading him, guys, while you can before it gets to be too late. I'm a little bit concerned with him, and especially against this Buffalo defense. I don't think he's going to have a big game against them. They just have an insane front line and some very good linebackers. So, I don't know. I'd be very concerned here with Dobbins. I would not be starting him in basically any format you have. And same with Duvernay, guys. I just don't think he's going to have a big game this week. He very well could, but I think it's a low chance against this very tough Buffalo Bills defense. Not liking it for him.
Arizona versus Carolina. Is this finally the week that DJ Moore breaks out? It might be. Their secondary, they are playing so many games this year where they're constantly coming back and having to win the game on the offensive side. Could this be the week? Obviously, Christian McCaffrey is starting when he's healthy. Could this be DJ Moore's week? I say take the risk. This is fantasy football. You got to do that to win some games here. So definitely start him. Marquise Brown was looking great. Start him. Zach Ertz, love him in the red zone. Start him. Who are we sitting? I can't even tell you. I want to start James Conner. He's got too much touchdown appeal. We can't, what? You want to tell you to sit Baker Mayfield? Well, you're not going to be starting him. Kyler, you're obviously going to start him. He's got rushing appeal. This game should be clean-cut obvious, okay? You're not starting any secondary wide receivers on either team, okay? You're going to start the running backs. You're going to start the wide receiver 1s. You're going to start Zach Ertz and Kyler. And on Baker's side, really, that's about it. CMC and DJ Moore. And I know DJ Moore has been struggling, but you got to be ready to start him. He's going to explode eventually. He's DJ Moore. So just don't be on the wrong end of that. That's what I definitely would want to tell you.
We got the so unfortunate so far season of the Denver Broncos and taking on Vegas, another unfortunate team. 2 teams that we thought would be battling for the playoffs, and they still could be. It's only been 3 weeks. The Raiders are 0-3. Denver somehow is 2-1, but they have been not looking great. Nathaniel Hackett needs to pick it up. I'm a Packers fan, but he's not looking like a great head coach at all. How are you wasting a lot of talent when you got Javonte, Melvin Gordon, Cortland Sutton, and Jerry Jeudy? And Russell Wilson as the quarterback. It's not like I got Drew Lock anymore. No more excuses in Denver. But let's go into it, guys. Sorry about that. But let's go into now the start and sits for this matchup. Denver, I'm starting Javonte Williams and Cortland Sutton. Cortland Sutton's been very good so far this season. I'm liking him a lot as receiver 2 for you guys all season long. Russ seems to like him a lot, and I think more big plays will happen, hopefully, if Hackett can pick it up and figure out what the hell's going on. Javonte Williams, they should be using him even more. He's been looking like a beast when I see him get that ball. And let's just hope he gets a little more volume, guys. I know Melvin Gordon's still a solid running back, but Javonte, you're still starting as a high in RB2 in my eyes. I still love his talent. I still think he can be a league winner long-term, guys. That's the only guys I'm starting in Denver. I'm not starting Jerry Jeudy. He didn't really look very healthy to me last week, And until I actually see him put up a consistent good game here now with Russ, I'm not putting him back in my lineup until I see that. Melvin, I'm not playing him. Alberto, I'm not playing him. I continue to see Alberto's snap count decrease so far every week, and that's not a good sign. Again, hopefully they have a better tight end option than Albert and Mr. O. Now with the Vegas Raiders, two guys I'm starting. Devontae Adams, he's still got a touchdown every game. Hopefully he gets a little more volume. He doesn't have Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball anymore. He's got Derek Carr, which has looked like a little bit of a problem so far. They're not winning games, haven't won one yet. But Devontae, there's no way in hell you're sitting him. Start the guy. Darren Waller starting as well, unless you somehow have Kelsey or Andrews ahead of him or Pitts on your team. If you have both of them, what the hell, that's crazy. If you have both of them, go trade one for something else because you only need one of them, especially in season long. Waller is a beast. Not many better tight end options to have than him in fantasy football. I'm playing him. And then, it might be a little controversial, but I don't really want to start Josh Jacobs. He had a solid week. He's been getting about solid 10 points, but I just feel like there's better options. Just let us know, for Josh Jacobs situations, personally for me, depends what other running backs you had that you could play over him. So going off that, just let us know because I would play Jacobs over certain running backs for sure, but right now I'm just not liking what I'm seeing out of him. And Denver's defense isn't easy. It's a solid defense for sure that they are going against. Hunter Renfrow, regardless if he clears to play this week or not, I'm not playing him. I just need to see a little more consistency with Devontae and Waller there together for him. And then Matt Collins, who might be a waiver target for you guys, I'm not playing him. I think that was a fluke of a game. But he did look like a beast, but I think there's plenty of better running backs and receivers to put in your flex spot over that guy. Hopefully Vegas can get their first one, maybe. We'll see. But Bronco Country might be saying, let's ride.
Patriots versus Green Bay. This one will be interesting. I think Green Bay will take this game pretty handedly. But as far as fantasy is concerned, I'm concerned with the Patriots and anyone on that team for fantasy production. This Green Bay defense is for real, guys. I know the running defense has not been fantastic, week over, the first 3 weeks, but I'm telling you what, guys, give the Green Bay defense some time, and their run defense is going to be pretty crazy. They have quite the front line. They have quite the linebackers. They have quite the secondary. It really makes it hard on teams to do anything against this defense. So New England Patriots with this offense, I don't know how they're going to get points against the Packers, guys. It's going to be rough. Maybe some big plays. I don't know. But the only start for the Patriots is Stevenson for me. I think this guy is slowly going to be taking over this offense. Damien Harris, he had his injury 2 weeks ago, so I have a little bit of concern with that. Maybe he gets re-injures it or whatever. I could see maybe starting Damien Harris. But again, I think the only reason why I say that is I think the Patriots are going to have to rely on their run game a lot. They're going to have to get creative with it, considering they're missing out on Mac Jones. So really, Stevenson is my only solid start here, guys. And I think Stevenson even is situational considering your running back situation. So keep your eye on that. I'm not liking the Patriots this week at all. Packers, Aaron Jones, I think he's starting in your lineups no matter what. Dillon, I think, is situational, but I still think he's a good start here, guys. Packers still got to lean on their, rushers. And then Lazard, I think if he's healthy, easy go ahead, wide receiver 3 or 4 option. In this game, sit everyone else on Patriots, sit everyone else on the Packers.
Kansas City versus Tampa Bay. All right, let's get into it. I am feeling that obviously we all know we're starting Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, right? All right, so moving on from there. Juju Smith-Schuster, it is time for him to have a big week. Last week we saw a few pretty solid plays out of Juju. I'm seeing the flashes. I'm seeing Pat get more comfortable with them. I think this is his breakout week. He's got great flex appeal. Start him in a flex spot. Don't start him over a wide receiver 1 or 2. Get him in a flex spot. That's where his line is going to be at with that risk-reward factor. All right, moving forward, we're going to look at Tampa Bay. Now, with Chris Godwin still being out, Julio Jones being out, Mike Evans is coming back, clear-cut starter. With that said, I have a feeling that Cole Beasley, after a week of practice, every week he's just going to get a couple more receptions from Tom Brady until Chris Godwin is back, which means he's going to have that risky flex appeal. If you don't have a clean-cut flex appeal starter, he's a secret little person to slide in there. Now, I like Leonard Fournette this week. They're going to have to run the ball. They're going to have to do dump passes. They just don't have as many targets to go to. It's going to be part of the game plan. And with a high-powered offense, it's going to happen. Kansas City gives up points. Nick Bolton likes to get a shit ton of tackles, but guess what? It's on the other side of the line of scrimmage most of the time. So definitely love any offensive player that is honestly going to get those looks from Tom Brady. So with that said, honestly, start Tom Brady this week. Just be careful. Now, with that said, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's got to be a sit, unfortunately. And the reason why is not that I don't have faith in Pat Mahomes, but I have even more faith in that Devin White, Levante David, all that entire defense that the Buccaneers have. Just seems like it's terrible. I mean, look at A.J. Dillon last week. I don't want to trust any running back, receiving back, or rushing against this Buccaneers defense. And if you want to take that risk, do it by yourself. Cover 3 Media is not doing that.
To end week 4 on Monday Night Football, we got a division matchup of the LA Rams and the San Francisco 49ers, last year's NFC Championship. Let's start off first with the Super Bowl defending champs, LA Rams. You're starting Cooper Kupp. He's been a beast. Didn't get a lot of targets last week, but he still got that touchdown. He's going to be heavily involved. He's their number 1 guy on their team right now. You're starting him, obviously. Higbee, I think you can start a tight end as well, unless I think he's probably my ranked 8th or 9th tight end. So if you have, Kelsey, Andrews, Pitts, Waller, Kittle, Hawkinson, Muth, or Goddard, if you have those guys on your team too, I would play any of those guys over Higbee. But if you don't, then I would play Higbee. He's been pretty solid so far this season. He's looking like possibly the second option on the team. I would debate Flex and Cam Akers. He's looking like he might be starting to take over that running back role on the team. San Francisco is a tough defense to run on. Let us know your options between Cam Akers, but might be a bold take. I was talking about Josh Jacobs earlier. I would possibly play Akers over Jacobs. I might be a bold take, but Akers still I don't think has a ton of explosiveness with that coming off the Achilles injury, but he's looking a lot like he's getting more volume and looking a little bit better. So, you can possibly play him this week depending on your other options at hand. A-Rob, I'm not starting. Dud week 1, dud week 3, solid week 2. I just need to see more consistency before I put the man in my lineup. I thought he was going to have a big season, but I might have been wrong. But they have a lot of time to figure it out, and I think towards the end of the season he could be a guy we put back in our lineups. And I'm not starting Darrell Henderson. Got less work last week. Cam Akers might be taking the job, but it's tough. That it might just be a committee where they ride the hot hand every game, so that's why it's tough to play either of them. That's why Henderson I'm not playing at all. Akers depends on other running backs you have to start over. Now let's go to the San Francisco 49ers. I'm starting Deebo Samuel. Been a little disappointed so far this season, but he's been consistent, still getting about 13 to 14 points every week. I think his role will hopefully increase, and he'll get better looks with Jimmy G under the helm. And I'm still starting George Kittle. It was a good sign because he played almost every snap. They definitely had him run block more. I was watching the whole game because their left tackle, Trent Williams, went out. Hopefully they let him loose because it's so annoying. I love George Kittle. He's one of my favorite players in the NFL. Obviously, Kelsey and Andrews are beasts, but I think he's still the best overall tight end in the NFL. Best, overall, he's a great blocker. And Shanahan loves to use him in the blocking run game. And that, inhibits some of his receiving work sometimes, which sucks. I wish every game they just let him loose and let him just go out there for a bunch of routes. But if you have him, guys, you got to put him in there because even with a dud with 5 points last week, there's not as many good options if you don't have one of those top 3, 4 guys over him. And he still has potential to just go off any week. You never know. I'm flexing Ayuk. Got that touchdown with Jimmy G. He's still got a lot of targets, and I'm liking him, and I think he could have a breakout game sooner rather than later. So I would flex him. And then Jeff Wilson, low on RB2/flex as well. He's getting the volume. Hopefully you can get a touchdown. That usually will save his day because he's not getting a lot of receiving work. Depends on your situation again, but I do like Jeff Wilson again. So hopefully that'll be a fun week 4 to wrap things up. Well, that's it, guys, for week 4 starts and sits here at Cover 3 Media. Please like this video and subscribe to us. We'd really appreciate it. We're trying to help you guys out as well. With these fantasy questions you guys leave us, we really appreciate it. Leave us comments on some start-sits situations you guys have here on this video or on our TikTok or Instagram at Cover3Media. But yeah, let's hopefully, if you're struggling at that 1-2, 0-3 start on the season, don't give up, guys. There's plenty of time to make ground. It's tough to come back from starting 0-3, but it's still possible. I've seen it happen. So stay with us, guys. Hopefully it's going to be a fun week, and out.